This hour 8 guided club bell workout is a foundations workout, and we are working exclusively on the wrists. Wrists are essential for club belling, mace belling, Indian clubs, and daily life, but we rarely actually work on them. So today, that's what we're going to do. We have 5 exercises. We're doing 3 sets of 10. I will use 3-pound and 5-pound club bells, and I'll also have a stick just to show you an alternative option. You do want lighter weight club bells to start because we're working on wrists, which are a tiny little area of the body. So don't go heavy at the beginning. I'll leave a link in the description below for all of these tools, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, click the bell for notifications, like this video, and be sure to come back to this club bell playlist for more. So, wrists are super important, especially for club bells, because we do all those kinds of turns and circles, and you want to have control of the club the entire time. And since we are no longer sword fighting every single day, we need to work out our wrists and strengthen them. It's also a great sign of longevity to have grip strength, so this is a way of working that grip strength. We've got 5 exercises. I'm going to show you a few different alternatives. I'm starting with the 3-pound clubs, and if you have 1-pound club, that works too, because these are hard. There's a lot happening. So the first movement is literally going forward and back, which is a pretty small move. If you imagine your arm is out in front, you're just kind of bringing your fist forward and back. So you're just thinking about lowering those knuckles down from straight. They're going to go down as far as possible, that is comfortable for you. And then you're going to pull them up. You have much less range flexing this direction. So first, starting with these 3-pound clubs, I'm going to show you a couple of different options. You can bring your arms right here in by your sides, just like you do when you are in order. And this is a great, really strong position. It feels strong. So you can also always do this one at a time. Just try and count and keep track, because you want to make sure you're doing the same amount on both sides, because usually we have a weaker side and that needs to get even stronger so that they're a little more even. So if you're here in this order position, you're keeping your butt tucked in, spreading the earth with your feet, all of the same things we normally do with club belling, and you're just going to let those clubs fall. I don't want you to drop them, because you want to have control the entire time. So really let your wrist extend as far as possible, and then you're going to pull in as far as possible. You're going to flex those wrists, right? Extend and in. If they come touch your chest, that's totally fine. You just, again, want to stay in control the entire time. So you're squeezing, there's no space between that elbow and the body. Forward and back. If you get some clicks, some pops in those wrists, it's pretty likely it's okay as long as there's no pain. And you want to think about, especially if you do this in front of a mirror, it's really helpful. If those clubs are kind of really wonky and all over the place, that's not having really good control. So you really want to think about creating as nice and tight a straight line, doing this forward and back, as possible. That's 4. And you also start to realize, as you do this, my thumbs aren't holding on to anything when it's in this extended position, right? But as soon as it comes into flexion, they are. They are what are keeping the clubs from going any further. So you're just also really getting used to the grip of being able to control the club with, let's say, 4 or 3 or 2 fingers. Breathing. So even though we're specifically working on the wrists, you will start to feel this, especially in your shoulders. So that's 10 with the 3 pounds. We're going to do 3 sets of 10 for each move. Next option, you can always move up, and I recommend moving up in that same sort of position in weight once you start to feel comfortable and it gets really easy. But you can also add reps, right? The more you do, the stronger you are, the more stamina you have. So the alternative option to make this a little bit harder for yourself and also to bring in the whole upper body is bring those arms away from you. So when you're in this position, your body's working a whole lot harder. You want to tuck that pelvis under, squeeze your glutes, spread the earth with your feet, and the same idea. You, again, really want to be thinking about where are your arms? Are they up here? Because that's not the same. It's just trying to keep them level with your shoulders. Really trying to focus on that straight line that you're drawing with the clubs. And 3 pounds is enough here. 4, especially to start. 5, 6. As you get more and more comfortable, you start to see, oh, I can release my fingers, and it changes how quickly the club drops, right? So you just really get to play with it a little bit more and feel out how these clubs, mace, whatever you're using, can be controlled. Core is working here, shoulders are working here. So by the time you get through 3 sets of 10 doing it with your arms out straight like this, you will be feeling it. Coming back in. So I wanted to bring a stick in because some people don't have really lightweight clubs. That's a great way to start when you're especially working on Indian clubs, and a lot of people might have lighter clubs if you've come to clubbelling from Indian clubs, but if you kind of came through on it or tack fit, you might not have started with something really light, like a 3 or 5 pound. So I have a stick mobility stick. It does not have to be this one. This is a 5-foot stick, and it's a pretty good height based on my height, right? And that's kind of what you're focused on. So if you're shorter, you don't need as long a stick. If you're taller, you might want something this long or a little bit taller. The thing about it, and it can be a broomstick, a dowel, whatever you have at home, it does not have to be this special stick, although I do love them. But same concept here. When you bring that stick, your hand is right there in the middle, whether you're in that order position or you're reaching out extended. If the stick is evenly distributed, doing this feels great, pretty easy, right? It's a pretty comfortable position. I might not be able to bring the stick as close to my body because the weight is evenly distributed. As soon as I bring my hand lower on that club, or on that stick, pardon, and I have way more weight on the top end of this stick, this is coming back, it's gonna be quite a bit harder. This is gonna be much easier for it to fall down towards my shoulder, but having control as I go forward and back in this flexion and extension of the wrist becomes more and more difficult, but it's a great practice. So this is an alternative option if you don't really have a lightweight stick. And again, the lower you go on that stick and have more of the weight at one end, the harder it's going to be for you. So same kind of idea. If I even came here, then this return to this position is pretty easy, but trying to flex right here is actually pretty difficult. So it might not go as far. This is easy until you get to here, and then your arm wants to pull down to control the entire stick. So maintaining order position. If your shoulder's really tired, if you're finding that you don't want to do that much work, again, you can also be seated doing these, maybe not with the stick, but certainly with these smaller clubs, so that you're not getting the rest of your body involved. It's not your back pulling, doing the work. It's really about focusing on those wrists. And And I think the stick is a great option for any time you don't have them. You can usually find a broom somewhere, and it's a great way to practice. So starting with these 5 pounds, we have not even 10 left for these forward and back, but same concept, they're just heavier. So you really have to be cognizant of where you maintain control, and you don't want to go beyond that point. So less is more, especially when you get into heavier weight. You can see arms are flexing every time I extend those wrists. Biceps are working. Might get a little bit more wobbly the heavier the weight. So again, slow and steady. And if we go out here, you really start to feel that weight. Even just a couple of pounds is a drastic difference. Okay. So we did forward and back. Next guess for the next exercise is going to be side to side. Right? This way, flexing and extending the wrist. But this is just as important, especially when you make it as small as what your wrist is capable of. We don't necessarily have to go extending the wrist all the way down where you're pulling through the whole shoulder up and down, right? This feels really good as a warm-up. It's a great way to work on them, but you want to have control with that club as you do this. So having your hands even this close, you might hit yourself with those clubs. So again, starting right around here, order position, tucking that pelvis in, spreading the earth with your feet. And I'm going to bring one club in front, one club behind the other. And then I want to have as much control as I open out. It can be very, very small. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So for people who do a lot of weight training, and you might have tendinitis in the elbow, the shoulder, the wrist, anywhere, this is one that you might actually feel that a little bit more. So again, smaller is better, less is more to start out. And this is actually a great way to strengthen the wrist so that that will help alleviate any kind of tendinitis you have from Olympic lifting and other kinds of weight training. So first set of 10, I'm going to show you another alternative to this side to side. It's important to make sure you acknowledge what your range is for both wrists, because if your wrist gets stuck, that's totally fine. It's just good to know where you're at. So I really like doing this particular exercise in order position because I can really pay attention to where the clubs fall. 6. Obviously, I have to hold on a lot more than with those forward and back. Thumb is working, fingers are all engaged. As soon as you take even just one off, it totally changes how your grip is for these. Right? So another option here, if you want to do that side to side, this is a great way to strengthen your arms, and you're just really kind of resisting the change in the motion. You can really just sort of shake them. And you want to be able to keep those clubs tight and controlled, even though you're just rocking back and forth. So you're not bringing your elbow or your wrists all the way out and in. You're just staying right in this tiny world and shaking both of them. And you will notice your hands get tired very, very quickly doing that. But that's a great additional kind of variation to these side to sides, which is so helpful. So same kind of concept with the stick again. So if you're here, holding it right in that middle place, doing this is work, feels pretty easy, kind of baton twirling. But as soon as you recognize which direction is the harder for you, whether it's inside or outside, you can start working by bringing that more of the stick to one side, and all of a sudden maintaining this straight line becomes more difficult. 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm coming back up. I'm going to switch. So now I have more stick at the bottom side. This is way hard for me, right? My elbow wants to pull out every time to try and find that position. So you're only going to as far as you can maintain contact with your side. 3, 4, 5. Shake those hands out. If at any time any of this becomes too much, or 3 sets of 10 is a lot for you right now, start with a lesser number. You can do just 1 set of 10 and start to build up. It's really about what works for you, and it's okay to be going to failure. We just don't want to go to any point of injury or pain. So if you get to the point where you're kind of like, oh my goodness, my fingers don't want to close anymore, that is a great time to stop. You know you've done really good work. Make sure you give your hands some love and do a little bit of some kind of cool down for specific to them. And then you'll find that in an hour, a couple hours later in the day, you'll be able to do it again. It might take a little bit more time, but you will be strengthening the hand by doing that. So I also wanted to show you, before I forget, same exact idea. You can reach those arms out straight. I have limited room here, but as you come out here, right, if your arm is out straight, you don't want your elbow to be bowing out. And notice, as soon as I do that, my whole body starts to engage, right? So, especially when you're starting out, less is more. And the more you can do to restrict the rest of your body from getting involved. So if I need to keep it smaller, that's fine. Goes just to right there. And as soon as my shoulder wants to turn, my back wants to engage, that's when I know I need to make it a little bit smaller. So that's why I love starting in this order position, because nothing can get as involved. Obviously, left side is a little bit weaker, so it's okay to try and do a couple more on this side too, if that works for you, trying to strengthen. And as for the weight, you're always basing whatever weight you can do with the weaker side, because you want to build that side up. You don't want to have an injury. So we just did forward and back this way. We did side to side. If you take heavier weight and try and do these tiny things, this one, it becomes very, very difficult. It's a great exercise, but you see biceps are getting involved, shoulders are involved. This takes a lot of work. So it's a good practice, but you don't need a lot of weight. You can always choke up on your clubs as well. Again, as soon as you more evenly distribute the weight, it becomes significantly easier. But that's a good option as well. So coming back to these 3 pounds, We're gonna do circles. First, pick one direction, whether that's clockwise, counterclockwise, however you want to think about it. Same basic concept. Elbows are tight. You're in that order position, so you're tucking that pelvis under. You're spreading the earth with your feet. And I'm actually going to make my hands go in the same direction. So one will be going clockwise and the other counterclockwise. There we go for them. And you can really take your time here and think about how wide can I go. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. You can also think about focusing on making the circle really small and really tight. Same idea. You're just trying to limit and stay within a range that you have complete control. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Left side's not cooperating as well. 8, 9, 10. So again, you're really letting your weaker side dictate how much you do of this. If you need to take a break at any time because of that weaker side, that's all fine. So again, same idea, but arms are stretched out. Shoulders packed down. As soon as you start seeing your shoulders getting really high up by your ears, you know it's time to take a break. Anytime that's happening, too much of the rest of your body is engaging, so you can always come back into the order position, which helps pull your shoulders down. But if we're out here, here we go, circles, 2, 3. This is a great opportunity to take note of where you might have a little glitch, where something in your wrist kind of goes, kind of has a cough or gets stuck in a specific area. 7, 8, 9, and 10. We've been going the same direction this whole time, just so you know, because the next exercise is going in the other direction. So, as you do these, really paying attention to where there might be any hiccups in your movement. It's just great awareness to have, and you recognize that it's a little bit weaker there. That's okay. That's why we're working on this, right? So as we go the other direction, again, you can find that as you get into a flow of it, it gets really kind of smooth. 3, 4, I'm going the other way now. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it might feel really smooth, but you're also like, oh my God, I'm white knuckling this thing. You want to get to a point, just in club belling and mace belling, where you can let go, where you really feel like you can flow and move, right? And you know you're going to hold on. So this is just the very beginning of that, and it's just something that I feel like doesn't get addressed enough and doesn't get really focused on for when you start club belling, right? You start out and you're like, this is so cool. Oh my goodness, my wrists hurt so much after doing this kind of a workout. So any variation of this is also a great sort of active recovery, because you need to help stretch those ligaments and really get them working, and so they don't get stiff. So we're still going the other direction. I'm going to use the 5 pounds just so you see how much less control I have with 5 pounds. So you can only imagine what it would be like with 10 or 15. Do we do these kinds of circles as often? You don't really think about it, but you are bringing them. Every time you bring a club bell into order, you're moving that wrist. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And as I said, you may decide you want to focus on one side more than the other. And you just want to see where you're at. Gets a little too much with two sides. That's totally fine. You can be right here doing this. I enjoy doing this while watching TV, kind of just playing around to see where I'm at. And that's a great option for strengthening. And then you can kind of start to see how wide and how much you can let your fingers relax here. Same kind of deal with the stick, right? Again, if we bring that stick even, you can do it out here. And you really get a chance to see that circle. I do really like doing it with a stick, this particular circles, because you can really see the circle. I can make it really small. And I'm still working. All of this is still work. It's just a little bit more nuanced, right? And go in the other direction. It becomes very comfortable. Again, because I have even weight distribution. As soon as I move my hand up or down, that stick, I want to maintain that same level of control, but I might have to bring my arm in a little bit. I might have to lower my arm to shoulder to chest height. And you might just have to think about it a little bit more, really focus on what you're doing. Because as soon as you stop thinking, it just sort of like goes wild, right? So same kind of concept. If I'm bringing that long end of the stick down, now I'm really working this outer line. Go in the other direction. Getting a chance to see, oh, it kind of, instead of doing a real circle, I got a little oval action happening, right? That makes sense. This is my weaker side. So can I get even more specific? So the stick is a really wonderful tool. It's a great option when you don't have your clubs available for you. I really enjoy this. It gives you a different perspective on seeing these things. So one last exercise. I like to call this ABC because you're really just kind of moving in 3 different positions. Arms are out long, so again, you already know shoulders might be coming up. You might kind of start to lean forward or back to stay in control of the clubs. The more you need to take a break, go ahead and take a break, because this is hard, right? When you're in this sort of like iron cross position, this is a lot of work. So again, starting with lower weight is definitely recommended. Again, I'm going to squeeze my glutes, spread the earth with my feet, just holding the clubs out here at shoulder height. This is a lot of work. And now I want you to kind of let the fingers go so that the clubs point towards your shoulders. And one side might have more control than the other, that's totally fine. But we're making a little circle, and then you're going to drop down. Having the bell end is a lot of, pointing downward is a lot of work too. And then you're going to pull up. So this is A, this is B, and this is C. Try to not have any wiggles. And then A, B, C, and up. A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. So again, you're really getting to work on letting those fingers kind of control how much the club moves. C, and up. Whew. You might feel this up in the traps, even into your neck, if this is a new thing for you. So take your time here because you are working the whole upper body as we do this. You're really having to stabilize. But it's a great exercise to have that club as far away from you as possible and then have control in dropping it down. You can think about releasing all of those fingers, 2 fingers holding that club. Maybe I need 3 to bring it back up, but same idea, right? I'm maintaining control. There's a lot of wrist in going from this bottom position, this C position, to A. You can literally see palm is facing away from the body, palm is facing in front of the body. So just that one little move is so much work. And it's a really wonderful strengthener. So we have 2 more sets of 10. Take a deep breath, pull those shoulders down, feet are hip width apart, squeeze that bum. Find that order position. Now reach out into A, lower into B, all the way down into C, and up. 2, 3, 4, trying to find control here. So if you notice one of the clubs wobbling a lot, you can pay more attention to that side. You can do one at a time, whatever works for you. 6, almost there. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Again, take a breath. I also really enjoy bringing the clubs together and just sort of forward folding all the way down. Holding onto the weight gives you a little bit of an extra push along with gravity. So this is a great way to release. Any tension that you're building up. We have 1 more set of these, and just these 5 exercises will really help to strengthen the wrists. You may feel a little bit of tightness tomorrow or later on in the day. Totally fine. We're also going to do a little bit of a cool down, so you have some specific stretches to think about doing after any club belling workout, but especially one that's really wrist heavy. I think that is every club bell workout, right? Here we go, 1 more round. In that A position, notice if you're trying to do this. Bring it down so between shoulders and chest height. A to B to C. A, B, and C. 3, 4, 5, 6. You can have some fun and really work on releasing fingers. See how much you can do without a pinky. There's nothing you can do in this particular one without a thumb, but you can start to play with how much control you need from those other digits. 8, 9, whew, and 10. Oh, and this is just with 3. I think that's a great place to start for anything, even if you have 1 pound clubs. Those are always a wonderful way to start working on the wrists. So that was 3 sets of 10. I can definitely feel it all through the lines of my arms. So a couple of really nice cool down stretches. Besides just bringing your hands together and kind of circling or figure eighting, I like to think of it as, because I'm trying to do a figure 8, in both directions, because one way will feel totally normal and the other will be like really weird and wonky. Shake out those wrists. You'll see me do that all the time in a club bell workout too. You can go forward and back, side to side. But coming down to the floor, bringing my fingertips toward my body. You can be in that sort of tabletop position. The more weight you bring back, like heels to butt or butt to heels, the more pressure you're putting on your wrist. So you can stay right here and just kind of lean your whole body, the trunk of your body forward and back. You can really try and get a little deeper and think about sitting back on your heels. And you're just kind of gently rocking forward and back, and then side to side. You can even do circles. So again, the more I lean back in this position, the more I can feel the stretch. And then circles. I'm gonna do them this way so you can also see a little better. So funny how we're doing the same movements with our hands on the ground that we did with the clubs, sort of. Shake that out. One of my all-time favorite wrist stretches. It also gets up into the forearm. Fingers are pointing towards each other. Palms are facing up. And you're sitting back on your heels as much as possible. And you're just going to try and come into a fist. So you will feel this all the way up your arm. And maybe at the beginning you can't really get your hand to do a complete fist. That's okay. The more you do this, I recommend maybe 10, the more you will open up and be able to do this and get that fist. And it doesn't have to be like a tight fist or anything. And shake that out. You're going to bring one hand forward, one hand back. So fingers are pointing toward me on one side and they are pointing away on the other. Switch. All of these are awesome ways to warm up and cool down the wrists for club bell, mace bell workouts. Can go side to side again. Just try and think about, I can hyperextend my elbows. So I want to think about having just a soft bend. If you have that same problem, you don't want to have your elbows all the way extended as far as they can go. You can have just a little bit of a bend to protect those elbows. Shake it out. I hope you enjoyed this wrist-specific club bell workout. Please drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know. There will be more of this coming because wrist strength is absolutely so important in club belling, and grip strength is something that we're working on while we do clubs. It's one of the greatest things about it, right? And I want to do more of these, so please let me know if you're digging it and you want to see more. Thank you so much.